draws a lot of people to FNAF is the mystery behind the franchise. There's little to almost nothing 100% confirmed about the game, and it's those mysteries that keep us talking about the game and coming back for more answers. But today I wanted to talk about some of the most frustrating questions that we don't have answers to. I feel like this video is pretty self-explanatory, so let's just jump right into it. Are Biddy Bab and Minarina possessed? And if they are they a part of Ennard? What happened to Biddy Bab and Minarina after Sister Location? Are they still in Circus Baby and Rental? We'll probably never get an answer, but I just really wondering if they were possessed or what happened to them. Who is Nightmare from FNAF 4, and where did he come from? Why is he here? What is he supposed to represent? Scott didn't add Nightmare for no reason. He was trying to tell us something, and the fact that no one has figured it out yet really baffles me. He is definitely hands down the most mysterious and frustrating character in the franchise, because to this day we don't know what he's doing here. Are Golden Freddy and Fredbear separate entities, or are they the same? Because they appear in Ultimate Custom Night both as separate characters. I know you have to use Golden Freddy to get the Fredbear jump scare with the death coin, but why does he change form when you use the death coin? It's just really strange to me. Are the spirits who possess the withered animatronics the same spirits who possess the classic animatronics? Because at the end of FNAF 2 we got a newspaper saying that the withered animatronics were being kept in storage until the location reopened in a smaller budget, and that's exactly what we see in FNAF 1. And we know FNAF 1 comes later in the timeline, so are they the same set of spirits and animatronics? Is the endoskeleton that roams around in FNAF 2 as an Easter egg Golden Freddy's endoskeleton? It would make a lot of sense. It has Freddy's ear shape, obviously. It's an Endo 02, which matches with the withered animatronics, but the only problem is Golden Freddy actually has an endoskeleton. We can see it on his feet. And that brings up an even more interesting question. Why does he have half an endoskeleton in his feet? Because we can see part of it peeking through, but where's the endoskeleton in his upper body? Like, we can't see it on his face. What happened? What are the canon heights of the FNAF characters? We know the Sister Location heights because we saw them on the blueprints, but how tall are the FNAF 1, 2, 3, 4 sister... No, never mind. You'd think after all this time we would know what the heights of the characters were, but it's so inconsistent. Who, or I should say, what, are the Shadow Animatronics, and what do they represent? Are they ghosts, or are they hallucinations like the Phantoms? More importantly though, why is Shadow Freddy named Shadow Freddy, and why is Shadow Bonnie named RWQFSFASXE? That just doesn't make any sense. Is the claw on Scrap Baby's hand the same claw she used to kill Elizabeth Afton? It's very possible, but we don't know for sure. Is Puppet female, or is it a female spirit trapped inside a male's body? Because we know Nightmare is male from Ultimate Custom Night voice lines, but what about the regular puppet? When the animatronics became Ennard in Sister Location, was Bon Bon included? Because Bon Bon was possessed in Sister Location. We see Funtime Freddy's parts on the floor in Sister Location, so Funtime Freddy was scooped and a part of Ennard, obviously. But what happened to Bon Bon? Is he still a part of Ennard, or is he off doing his own thing? Why does Nightmare Fredbear have teeth on his stomach, and Nightmare as well, but they don't do anything? They're just kind of there. Obviously, Scott put them there intentionally, so what is this supposed to show us? Is this supposed to show us something? Why does Candy Cadet have 3 different stories in FNAF 6, and why are they all basically saying the same thing? Each story is about 5 things becoming one thing, but what is this supposed to show us? What is so important about this? I'll never know. In FNAF, are the spirits possessing the suits, or are they possessing the endoskeleton? If they were only possessing the suits, they couldn't move, because you can't move an endoskeleton. And what about Balloon Boy? He doesn't have an endoskeleton. How does he move? I guess you could say it's the endoskeletons that are possessed. Because of Sister Location, we can see that the wires all became together to become Ennard, leaving the suits behind. But what about something like Bon Bon? Bon Bon doesn't have an endoskeleton, so is it a spirit possessing this plastic suit? I'll never know. This is really confusing. Is Funtime Foxy a boy, or is Funtime Foxy a girl? It's in Ladies Night and Ultimate Custom Night, but it has a male's voice. Hand Unit calls it a she in Sister Location, but the Angsty Teen calls it a he. I have no clue. We can see on the blueprints in Sister Location that Funtime Foxy has this thing called Voice Mimic, so maybe he's just mimicking someone else's voice. I don't know. We'll never get an answer, but she's pretty confusing as a character. Who do we play as in FNAFs 3 and 4? Because in FNAFs 1, 2, 5, and 6, we know our protagonists. In FNAF 1, it's Mike Schmidt. FNAF 2, it's 2 people, being Fritz and Jeremy. In Sister Location and FNAF 6, we're playing as Michael. And then UCN is William Afton. We assume we're playing as Michael Afton in FNAFs 3 and 4, but it's still a big mystery. I really want to know who we're playing as in FNAF 4. Whether the crying child's supposed to be Michael, or if it's just some random kid. Are the toy animatronics from FNAF 2 actually possessed, or are they just corrupted? We know 5 kids were murdered in the FNAF 2 location, so it's possible that they're possessed, but a lot of people seem to think that they're just been corrupted. Was it Jeremy who got bit in the bite of 87? Because he was moved to day shift when Fritz Smith took over on night 7 in FNAF 2, but it still hasn't been confirmed, and we still don't know who did the bite of 87. My bet's still on Mangle. Who is Dark Springtrap, and why did Funko make him into a Funko Pop and Mystery Mini? Is it supposed to be the burnt Springtrap in Fazbear Friday at the end of the Golden Freddy cutscene in Sister Location Custom Night, or is it supposed to be Dave from the Twisted Ones novels? Is Chocolate Bonnie actually made out of chocolate, or is that just a design choice? Because Fazbear Entertainment, I feel like, couldn't design a chocolate animatronic. Tell me how that makes sense. That just wouldn't work. And if I ate him, would it taste good, or is it just... And the final frustrating mystery we don't have the answer to that I'm going to bring up in this video is Mangle's gender. I'm not going to state my opinion, what I think, because there's going to be a war in the comment sections, but just tell me what you guys think. I could see convincing arguments for both sides. It has lipstick and painted fingernails, which is a trait we see primarily on females, but honestly, who knows? It could be a guy. I actually don't know. For a while, I thought it was a girl, and then I thought it was a guy. I honestly just don't care anymore. What animatronic does the blue mask represent in FNAF 3's Happiest Day minigame? Because we have the green one for Happy Frog, the pink one for Pig Patch, the yellow one for Orville, and the purple one for Mr. Hippo. Why wasn't there a brown one to represent Ned Bear? Why was it green? It's just so strange. In Ultimate Custom Night, why are the two Springtraps represented as separate characters? Springtrap is of course called Springtrap, but why is Scrap Springtrap in Ultimate Custom Night called Afton instead of Scrap Springtrap? When we see Baby and Scrap Baby isn't called Elizabeth, it's called Scrap Baby. So what's up with this? Is this trying to show us something? What was Yendo's suit? We see his endoskeleton, of course, that's why he's called Yellow Endo, because of his eye color, but what suit was he supposed to have? Of course, Game Theory Matt Pat brought up the idea of a Funtime Fredbear of some sort. I think this is an interesting idea, but it's not proven, and I'm just wondering why Scott decided to include this, maybe just for another character for the custom night, but it's still interesting to think about. What animatronic killed Phone Guy in FNAF 1? We hear the breathing of Bonnie and Chica, and then we hear Freddy's chime, and then Golden Freddy's jump scare noise. Which ending is the true ending in FNAF 3? We get a good ending and a bad ending, but which one is the real ending? As of now, I think it's pretty safe to say that the bad ending is the true ending, because as we all know, parts of Remnant are in the Funtime animatronics from the classic animatronics, so their souls can't be completely put to rest. Why does Springtrap change his suit at the end of FNAF 3? We know that in the fire in FNAF 3, his suit obviously would have gotten damaged, but why does his suit and overall body design look so drastically different in FNAF 6? It's almost like these two are completely different characters, because the overall body design, even excluding the exterior shell, which is the suit, they look completely different. There's very little that they have in common. In FNAF 3, who is the broken Freddy suit that appears to your far left sometimes as an Easter egg? It has the model of Withered Golden Freddy and Shadow Freddy, so which one is it? Is it just a hallucination like all the rest, or is this Golden Freddy's spirit? Is JJ from FNAF 2 a hallucination, or is JJ an actual animatronic? JJ does appear in Ultimate Custom Night, which leads many people to believe that JJ is an actual animatronic, but she just disappears sometimes under the desk in FNAF 2 without any explanation. She's not on any other cameras. It's just so weird, because if she appears in Ultimate Custom Night, she must have been real at some point, but William Afton didn't work in FNAF 2, so he would have never saw it. It's a really confusing situation. On night 4 in Sister Location, you spend a lot of time, basically the entire night, inside of a Springlock suit. But is this suit Funtime Chica? The overall face shape definitely has a Chica-like design, definitely not a Bonnie, Freddy, or Foxy. It would make sense because we never really see Funtime Chica in Sister Location, but we know she existed at that point because we see Funtime Chica back again in FNAF 6, so it's definitely a possibility. What year does FNAF 3 take place in? We know FNAF 1 is 1993, FNAF 2 1987, Sister Location sometime around the early 80s, early 70s, FNAF 4, 1983, and FNAF 3 in 2023. What year does FNAF 6 take place in, though? What is the gap between FNAF 3 and FNAF 6? I'd say maybe like 2 years. We never really get a confirmed answer on this. I'd really want to know. This might not be a frustrating question for some people, but this has been in the back of my mind basically since Pizzeria Simulator's launch. What happened to Mrs. Afton? Was William Afton even married? I don't know. We know he has 2 to 3 kids, the older brother, Michael, and then Elizabeth. Is Ballora supposed to represent Mrs. Afton? I don't know. Is Ballora possessed by Mrs. Afton? We just don't know. We have no idea what happened to Mrs. Afton, where she is, or what her fate was. We are getting a new Fazbear Fright story about 2 brothers who see their parents fighting, and this could very well be what happened to Mrs. Afton. Maybe they just got a divorce and separated. I think this one is definitely one of the most frustrating questions that us fans have been wondering for literal years. If you didn't know, in FNAF 2, 2, one of the paper pals from Party Room 4 can move, but which animatronic moves the paper pal in there? We see Withered Chica blocking the one that moves, so does Toy Bonnie when he zooms in on the camera. Toy Chica can also occasionally spawn in there. I don't know, this is another one that might just be kind of personal to me that's kind of frustrating because I've seen people debate about this on Reddit basically since 2015. Where is the FNAF game lore set? We know in the books FNAF is set in Hurricane, Utah, which is a state of the United States if you didn't know. Also, how far away are each location from each other? Like, how far away was the Fazbear Fright building from the FNAF 2 building? Again, this might just be a personal frustrating thing for me. It's just very simple information. It's not really important anyway. It's just really frustrating that something as simple as this isn't answered. Are the Nightmare animatronics from FNAF 4 based on Springlock costumes? Because each of the Nightmare animatronics have 5 fingers. It just seems like an odd detail to include since up to this point the only character with 5 fingers was Springtrap. There's little to no evidence that this is even a thing, but it's definitely enough to make you wonder. I don't know, maybe I'm just stupid about this next one, but is Phantom Freddy based off Withered Golden Freddy or is it based off Withered Freddy? Every other Phantom we know exactly what they're based on. Phantom Foxy, Withered Foxy, Chica, Regular Chica, Phantom BB of course, Phantom Mangle, Regular Mangle, and finally Puppet and Phantom Puppet. But is Phantom Freddy based on Withered Golden Freddy or Withered Freddy? This is something that's bothered me basically since FNAF 3 came out. And finally, the final frustrating unanswered question for this video is, of course, what's in the box? What is in the FNAF 4 box? What happened to it? Is it still a part of the lore? Was it retconned? I don't think we'll ever get a 100% answer as to what's in the box, which is really frustrating, but tell me in the comments if you guys know the answers to any of these. In Ultimate Custom Night, are there other spirits present just besides Fredbear and William Afton? Through Withered Bonnie and Balora's voice lines, we hear that they're aware that something is strange, but they don't really know what's going on.
What is this new prison? Is it me trapped, or is it you? Perhaps it is us both.
These are strange circumstances that have brought us together.
In FNAF 1, there's an Easter egg newspaper clipping saying that William Afton was arrested because he was caught on camera for killing the 5 children. But if he was arrested, how did he go back to the FNAF 1 location, dismantle the animatronics, and then get stuck in Springtrap? I guess it would be pretty easy to say that someone just got framed, but if they have video evidence and he was caught on camera, it would be pretty hard to frame someone. I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking this, maybe he just escaped or something. In FNAF 4, we got a few extra DLC characters that Scott claimed were not canon besides Nightmare Balloon Boy. However, in later games like Curse of Dreadbear and Ultimate Custom Night, these DLC characters reappeared as full-fledged canon characters like Jacko Chica and Jacko Bonnie. Why did Scott change his mind and make these characters canon for some reason? He went out of his way to confirm that they weren't canon, but then to just turn around and say that they are canon is just a little bit strange to me. I'm pretty sure most of us in the FNAF community have heard of game theory. He does a pretty good job of piecing together the lore that no one else can really do the way he does. But in one of his videos, he brought up an idea that never left my mind and has actually stuck with me ever since he mentioned it. Were Balloon Boy and JJ originally part of Circus Baby's Pizza World? Maybe even Mangle as well. They all have the clown, rosy-cheeked, humanoid type aesthetic aside of Mangle, but Mangle's really similar to Funtime Foxy. We also know that because of FNAF World, Mangle's fixed form is named Funtime Foxy, not Toy Foxy like many people assume. So maybe fixed Mangle, who was maybe some sort of early prototype of Funtime Foxy, along with Balloon Boy and JJ, after Circus Baby's Pizza World was shut down, were thrown into the new FNAF 2 location. One of the weirdest parts of FNAF 2 is one that I don't really see a lot of people talk about, and that's the cutscenes where the puppet is in the FNAF 1 location. I've always found it odd that it appears there, but it's not on any cameras and doesn't even attack you in the game. I think some people would say it's because FNAF 2 was made after FNAF 1, so Scott didn't even know the puppet existed yet, but we've seen him add stuff to his games before after release. In 2016, he added Halloween office skins to the first 3 FNAF games, so I think he could have easily snuck in some sort of puppet Easter egg. So that brings me to my question: why is the puppet not mentioned at all, or shown at all, or attack you at all in FNAF 1? One of my favorite things Scott does every year is he does something special on FNAF's anniversary. In 2019, we got the 2020 security breach teaser, in 2018, we got the doco interview, and in 2017 and 16, we got behind the scenes on the FNAF character models and just how Scott makes his games. Now on that last point, in 2017, the teasers we got for the anniversary, there were actually hints of the FNAF 6 animatronics, Scrap Baby, Scrap Trap, and Molten Freddy hidden in the anniversary photos. It's really interesting looking back because up to this point, we had no confirmation that FNAF 6 was even happening, and Scott had been silent for almost a year. Even though most of the teasers were explained now that more games have come out, there's actually one that's still a complete mystery to me and everyone I've talked to about it. That being this picture from the backstage. As you can see, it looks pretty normal. We see the wireframes of Bonnie up close, it's really interesting, and also all the masks. But if you look behind the door, you can see this really weird looking endoskeleton head of sorts. You can't see it in the normal game because the door's wide open all the time, so what is this supposed to be? One of my favorite FNAF books is actually not the novels, but the security logbook. It's really funny because this logbook honestly has more lore than most of the books combined. With reveals like Golden Freddy's name and Michael Afton being the crying child were interesting, but what I'm most interested in is the last page. Similar to how Freddy Files had an Easter egg for FNAF 6, which was one of the very few we got, we get this weird looking scrap FNAF 1 Chica. Now to my knowledge, I don't think this scrap Chica has ever reappeared since its debut in this book, but I could be wrong. Maybe it was in the 4th closet or something, because I actually didn't finish that book. I stopped halfway through. Tell me in the comments if this Chica's ever reappeared. It's actually one of the biggest mysteries that I don't see a lot of people talking about. This one is a much more broad and general question, but how canon is FNAF World, and to what capacity is it canon? If that doesn't make sense, let me explain really quick. It's obvious, I don't think it takes a scientist to figure it out, that FNAF World doesn't take place in our universe. Scott has also largely disowned this game, saying he's not proud of it, so it makes a lot of people believe that this one should just be walled off entirely and not canon at all. There's a lot of subtle hints to the main series, like the FNAF 3 minigames for example, as well as the open box and Baby. So we know this game is connected in some way, but we don't know how or what. People say FNAF 4 is the most confusing game in the lore, but I think this one definitely is 100%. Hey guys, really quick, I noticed this while editing this video, but there's also a connection between Ultimate Custom Night and FNAF World, because in Ultimate Custom Night, if you set ultimate consequences to 1 and drown yourself, you get a star in the FNAF World menu, so those are also connected in some way too, which furthers my point that FNAF World is definitely connected in some way, but we don't really know how. If you're not really connected to the current lore and don't really know about Remnant and all that, this next section might be a little bit confusing, but in FNAF 3, we see the Phantom Animatronics and assume that they're just hallucinations, but are they actually? We know from the 4th Closet novel that parts of the classic animatronics remnant were fused with the Funtime animatronics, but what happened to the rest? Could that be the Phantom animatronics from FNAF 3? This was a theory I read on Reddit back in the winter. I don't remember who it was from, but it was a pretty interesting one. And the final unanswered FNAF question for this entire series that's gonna cap it all off is FNAF 4 a dream or is it real? It's really strange because we actually have a lot of evidence to work with, but a lot of the evidence conflicts with each other. Let's start off with the evidence that it's real. First and foremost, we know that Sister Location is connected to the FNAF 4 house, so we know 100% that the FNAF 4 house does exist. We also get a voice line from Nightmare Fredbear and Ultimate Custom Night saying,
This time, there is more than an illusion to fear.
This voice line from Fredbear implies that before they were just illusions caused by the Sister Location sound discs, but as Easter eggs in FNAF 4, we get flowers, IV, and pills, which implies that he's in a hospital dreaming about this in a coma. In Ultimate Custom Night, you can sometimes get a very unsettling voice line from one of the mediocre melodies when you die.
This is how it feels, and you get to experience it over and over and over again, forever. I will never let you leave.
If you listen closely, you can hear a voice controlling the mediocre melodies like a puppet. You hear these voice lines in Orville and Happy Frog's secret voice lines as well, and it sounds a lot like Baby, but is it Baby or is it the vengeful spirit that was in the casting? How do the animatronics find the FNAF 6 location? The events of FNAF 6 all take place in 1 week, so how do all the animatronics show up at the same time and know where the location is? For example, Ennard ends up in the sewer at the end of Sister Location, which I'm assuming is at least a few decades before FNAF 6. So how did Springtrap, who just escaped the FNAF 3 fire, Baby, who went back to Sister Location to get her old body, Ennard, who's been in the sewers, and the puppet, who was caught by Lefty, how do they all end up at the FNAF 6 location just a few hours apart from each other? In FNAF 1, there's only one camera disabled, and that's the kitchen camera. Something I've always wondered, is this where the puppet and Golden Freddy stay when they're not active? Well, I mean, Golden Freddy's a hallucination, I think, anyway. But is this where the puppet stays? Because we know he's in the FNAF 1 location based on the FNAF 2 beginning cutscenes, so where does he hide? He's not in the backstage. So is the camera in FNAF 1 obscured because that's where the puppet is? Was the FNAF 3 Fazbear Fright building originally a Freddy Fazbear's Pizza? The layout definitely is very awkward for being a restaurant, but if you look at the wall and floor tiles, they look very much like a Freddy Fazbear's Pizza to me. Every time I play FNAF 3, I think this. I don't know, maybe I'm just stupid and just not thinking of the obvious, but to me this is very frustrating and something that, I don't know, it's just something I'd like to know. One of the most confusing parts of FNAF 6 was probably the Midnight Motorist minigame. The confusing part really isn't the minigame itself, but it's when you get off the beaten path and you find 3 very interesting locations. First, we have this establishment named Junior's. Some people think this is the FNAF 2 location, and while it's possible, I don't know why Scott would call it Junior's. The second place is an open area in the middle of a woods with this weird dirt mound. And the final location is the FNAF 4 house, it seems like, with this weird orange guy. Some people think this is William, but why would Scott all of a sudden portray William as being orange? It just doesn't make any sense. This overall minigame is just probably one of the most confusing FNAF pieces to the puzzle, and that's why it's making it on this list. Tell me if you guys have any explanations for any of these, especially that dirt mound one. I have no idea what that's supposed to be. What animatronic did the bite of 87? This is a topic that I previously touched on in my first video of this series. I said in the video that I was pretty sure it was Mangle, but a lot of people seem to disagree. Some people thought it was Withered Foxy. I've heard some people say it was FNAF 1 Freddy, which, you know, it's not. But those comments got me thinking. We never did see who did the bite of 87, and to this day it's still technically an unanswered question, whether how much Scott alludes to it or how much people think. It's not proven. Where does Sister Location take place in the FNAF timeline? After Circus Baby's Pizza World was closed, the animatronics were put down in Circus Baby's some rental, but how long is it before Michael goes back down to the underground cellar and explores it in Sister Location? It could be in the late 70s, late 80s, early 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, late 2000s, we just don't know. What games or pieces of information are canon to the main series now? Because now that we know that the games are games inside the universe of the FNAF lore, which events really did happen? I'd say the only events we know 100% certain of is Springtrap getting Springtrapped, the 5 kids being stuck inside the suits, and that's about it. Ever since I finished reading the Twisted Ones book, I thought it was pretty good, but something I've always wondered is why is Nightmare on the cover art? The only animatronics that appear in the book are Twisted Freddy, Twisted Bonnie, Twisted Foxy, and Twisted Wolf. There's no sign of Nightmare in this book. In FNAF 4, why do the Nightmare animatronics behave similarly to the FNAF 1 animatronics? Nightmare Bonnie and regular Bonnie both come through the left side, Nightmare Chica and regular Chica comes through the right side, Foxy and Nightmare Foxy have their own little separate area stage thing. Does this have any lore significance, or is it just a little coincidence? A nice Easter egg, I guess. What are the Freddles in FNAF 4, and what are they supposed to represent? They really remind me of Lonely Freddy's from the new FNAF book. I feel like these 3 characters often get overlooked and just kind of swept under the rug, but I feel like they're pretty important. Scott could have made Nightmare Freddy work on his own, so why did he feel the need to add these 3? And finally, what happens to the animatronics at 6 AM? Do they stop moving and head back to the stage, or are they still possessed and fully aware of what's going on? When it reaches 6 AM, you still have to walk out of the building. Are you in any danger, or are they just automatically deactivated? I don't know how that works. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I originally planned part 3 to be my last part, but because I finished out Useless FNAF Facts with one final part, I thought I'd go ahead and do the same with this series. Thank you all so much for supporting this series. Tell me in the comments if you guys have any more frustrating unanswered questions. Maybe I or some people in the comments could answer, and feel free to answer the questions I presented in this video. Maybe I'm just stupid and just don't know anything about FNAF. But with all that being said, that's all I have for now. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Like and subscribe if you're new. Thank you again for 18K subscribers. I'm growing really fast here lately, and I just can't thank you guys enough. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.